In its first communique, leaders of the G20 have vowed to conduct joint actions against growing terror as well as choking terror financing channels. G20 leaders, including US President Barack Obama, Russian President Vladimir Putin, denounced the Paris attacks as heinous and reiterated that they would remain united in combating terror.
On the agenda of the G20 summit were inclusive economic development and climate change. But in the aftermath of the Paris attacks, the focus changed to jointly tackling the menace of terror. The issue of attacks in Paris, Syria war, and the fight against ISIS remain the highlights of the two-day summit. Towards the end, a proposal was passed calling for coordination and exchange of information to tackle terror. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, US President Barack Obama, Russian President Vladimir Putin, Chinese President Xi Jinping, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and other world leaders vowed to double the efforts to combat terror. Prime Minister Narendra Modi termed terrorism the world's biggest challenge and put forth a 10-point proposal. In his 10-point proposal, the Prime Minister said the world must act in unison and have one voice against terrorism without any political considerations. He said the world should not make any discrimination between states. The PM called for isolation of sponsors and supporters of terrorism. He asked the world leaders to restrict the international legal framework. Prime Minister Modi said the world should adopt a comprehensive convention on terrorism without delay. He asked to prevent the supply of arms to terrorists, disrupt terrorist movement, curb and criminalize terror finance. Prime Minister Modi asked for increasing international cooperation in intelligence and counter-terrorism. He stressed on securing cyberspace, minimized use of internet and social media for terror activities. He also called for the involvement of religious leaders, thinkers and opinion makers for a social movement against extremism. The PM asked leaders to de-link terror and religion and work together to counter radicalization.
The entire humanity must stand together as one against terrorism. The need for a united global effort to combat terrorism had never been more urgent. This must also be a priority for BRICS nations.
Leaders from across the world vowed to jointly fight against terror and double the efforts to eliminate the IS network. US President Barack Obama said a series of deadly attacks in Paris are an attack on the civilized world, adding that the United States would work with Turkey to fortify borders with Syria. Expressing a strong resolve, German Chancellor Angela Merkel said leaders of the group of 20 leading economies stand united to face any militant threat, adding strengthening Europe's external borders was crucial for Germany. Russian President Vladimir Putin said fighting terrorism and coping with the migrant crisis have to be done together.
Have been darkened by the horrific attacks that took place in Paris just a day and a half. I'm sure each said to President Hollande and the French people, we stand in solidarity with them in hunting down the perpetrators of this crime and bringing them to justice.
We do understand well that winning against the terror threat and helping millions of those who lost their homes is only possible by uniting the efforts of the whole international community. But we remain steadfast behind uniting efforts to fight the terror threat effectively.
We agreed that the challenge cannot just be tackled militarily, but rather with multiple measures. Many highlighted the necessity, and that is connected to the financial markets, to cut financial channels to terrorists and prevent all illegal activities.
The manner in which the powerful nations have come together against the menace of terror only shows the strong resolve of the international community to work closely and rid the world of the ghastly attacks. Newsnight Desk, DD News.